Welcome to Q-Now videos. Today I'm going to show you how to use the Carina CPAP machine and go through all of its functions. So first you've got to do a safety check, make sure that everything is working properly. So I start with the hose, make sure there's no holes in it or kinks or perforations, and I plug it into the wall. You'll hear it hiss for a second and then it gets tightened on. Make sure the power cord, run your fingers on the power cord, make sure there's no cuts or chunks taking out of it, and then turn it on at the wall. And then have a look at the back of the Carina where it inserts. So this is the oxygen, this is the power, and this is the on-off button. So I'll turn the Carina on, it'll do a self-test, and while it's doing a self-test, I'll just take off the filter. Make sure that the filter's all nice and clean and put that back in. So that's all ready to go up the back. At the front here we have a hose connection. That's where we put our ventilation hose. And on the top we have a screen that's not touch screen. We have soft keys here, a menu button, start, standby, and a confirmation knob. It toggles through things and you click on it, press down to make it go. So that's the machine. And then we have an alarm pause button. The equipment we have is a single lumen ventilation tube. Now this is for non-invasive ventilation, and the blue end plugs into the Carina itself. The other end has this little valve, it's called a whisper valve. If you have a single lumen tubing, you've got to make sure there's some way the patient can expire. So if you've put on a solid face mask that has no outlets, they'll breathe into it and just recycle their own expired air. So you've got to make sure you have a whisper valve or have a 2 lumen ventilation tubing. On the end of that we stick either a bacterial filter. So the bacterial filter is thin, or you can have a thicker HME filter that provides a bit of heat moisture exchange for the patient. On the end of that we have a couple of options. We can have a face mask, that's the ones we use here. Now you've got to make sure it fits to the bridge of the nose, to just under their lip, in between their chin, and it gets a nice firm fitting and secures around the patient's head. But what I want to show you is how this connects to the tubing. So connect it tight like that and make sure it's a nice firm fit. It all swivels around, so if the patient moves their head, there's no real tension on it, keeps it nice and loose for them. If we're going to give a patient a nebulizer, we have a bit of a system to it. We have a T-piece that we put a neb pot at the bottom, so this neb pot here goes at the bottom, and then because this is all one size, we need a connector to make it fit 2 different sizes. So it goes in between the mask and before the filter. So the nebulizer can go straight into the mask here and not get filtered through the bacterial filter. So that's the way we would set it up if you need nebulizers. Now I'm just going to take all that off just to show you. We do have another mask, so if those masks don't fit, we could put you straight onto one of these masks. And what you need though is a rubber connector that goes on the back of a person's head, and they all just link up on each of these 4 spikes at the front, and that secures it firmly to a patient's face. So that's another system we can use if you run out of masks. For the demonstration, I'm going to have it connected to a test lung, just so I can make the machine work and it doesn't beep at us. Now, setting up the patient, if they've got a beard, a good tip to do is get a clear film dressing and put the clear film on each side of their face and underneath, so that creates a good seal for the mask so you don't get any air underneath. So it creates a nice easy seal for them. The other thing, pressure air is a big risk because you're putting the mask on, you need it firm so you don't get air leaks. I cut out a bit of duoderm and I put it around each cheek where the mask will come down. I'll put a piece over the nose and then a piece around in the chin there, just so they've got a bit of cushioning, a bit of protection, so that their skin doesn't get any pressure sores. So now I've checked all the pump and I've connected it all together. Now we have to get the pump working so we can use it. So the first buttons we have here is the mode key, and it's got spontaneous CPAP. Now, if you want to change any modes, you've got to press the soft key here, and then use the toggle switch and switch between the modes. The most common one we use is spontaneous pressure support, and that gives us a function of giving CPAP as well as pressure support as well. People confuse it with BiPAP. It isn't BiPAP, it's a different sort of mode, but it works a little bit differently, but this is the system we use here. So I've changed it to spontaneous pressure support, so that will give us that rate. I always start with my pressure support and peep as low as possible. So the minimum peep you can do on this machine is 3, and the minimum pressure support you can do is 2. The reason I start that at low is so the person, they get a condition called aerophobias, where their air's coming rushing at them and they feel all funny and get anxious and they can't tolerate it. So you turn it down really low till you get the mask on, fitting well, shouldn't take more than 2 minutes, then start to ramp up to the prescribed peep and pressure support that the doctor asks for. And you'll find you get a better tolerance with the person starting at a lower peep. FiO2, if you go above 75% FiO2 on this machine, it will start alarming. That's just a company thing. Don't know why it does that. It's still giving the air because it's fan driven, but when you do get to the high percentages, it doesn't really like it. You won't keep a person on high FiO2 for non-invasive for very long. If you are, you'll probably have to look at intubation further down the track, so it wouldn't be a long-term thing. Other things with this pump before we actually turn it on is the flow rate is about 100 litres a minute, which is really good. So if you have a leak that you can't control and you have a leak of like 30-40 litres, the pump is still good enough to give you enough pressure to maintain a good CPAP and pressure support. So if you use other machines, they probably don't have the good flow rate, they won't have the driving gas ability to give you that pressure you need. A little trick with this pump before we get going as well is checking the apnea ventilation. You have to actually, when you check your apnea ventilation, you press your select alarms, go to your alarms, and then you've got to apnea time, so we have it set at 20 seconds, so that's good. And then to configure the different rate, because I like to have it set at a rate of 10 by 500 just to keep it safe. You have to actually change the mode to SIMV volume control and change the volume to be infused, tidal volume there, so to make it 500, and press confirm, and then page down for the rate, change it to 10 and press confirm, and then toggle back up, so it is a bit long-winded, and then change your mode back to spontaneous pressure support. So that's just a safety thing. It's a bit long-winded. Do it before you start, because once you get going you'll have to change the mode to get it out, which is a bit annoying. Other things about it is this will run on batteries, so you get a couple of hours battery life, and underneath you have 2 black handles that you pull out and the whole middle comes out. So that's only a stand, so this can go sit on a bed. You can put this on a bed if you want and put it on. And it's very easy, just slips back on its little pegs, click the little buttons in and away you go. So to get it started, it's very hard. Just press this start standby button. So press start and it starts. And that's all there is to it. It'll start ventilating. Now I've got that at a low rate, and when I feel like the patient's tolerating it well, I'll increase my peep first, and then my pressure support, and I'll take it up as I need to get it going, and the patient will start breathing. Now the things that we check, we go into select menu, and we go into values, and we have a look there, and they'll give you all the values you need to check. So you want to check your apnea ventilation's on, you want to check your FiO2, your peep, you want to measure your tidal volume, your minute volume, and your leak minute volume, because how much is it leaking? Because you will get a leak because you have a whisper valve. So you want to keep that under about 30 litres if you can. You also want to do your respiratory rate as well. Then you go through, check your alarms, so your peak airway pressure, minute ventilation, high frequency. So high frequency is just your rest rate, how fast you're breathing. So this is set at 46, which is a bit high at the moment. So if you wanted to change it, click on the soft key, turn it down, and then press OK with the confirmation. Then we've got your apnea time, and then your disconnection time. So if it disconnects for any reason, how long do you want it to disconnect for before it alarms at you? Other values you have is configurations. You don't really need to deal with configurations, that's just more of tech support sort of stuff. And that's about it really. For actual pump usage, the biggest thing with using BiPAP CPAP is actually looking after the patient. It's very intense nursing, but it's very rewarding. If you can look after a person and get them through about 3 or 4 hours CPAP, you usually see them either turn the corner and start to get better, or they do deteriorate and need ventilating. But if you can get them to turn the corner, it decreases their length of stay in hospital. They don't have to go to ICU. They can go just to a high dependency and get treated, and improves their outcome. Things that you've got to remember though is regularly their mouth is going to be dry, so you need to do, like every half an hour or so, take the mask off for a minute, get a face washer, give their face a freshen up, give their mouth a freshen up, put some Vaseline or something on their lips to protect their lips, put the mask back on, stay with them, talk to them all the time. Because we are pushing air under pressure, air can go into the gut, so they can vomit. So if they do that, you need to be there to release the mask off quickly so they don't aspirate on any of the vomit. You've got to watch their blood pressure and pulse, because you're increasing the intrathoracic pressure. Sometimes their heart won't manage that, so you've got to keep an eye on their blood pressure and make sure that it's maintained well. Never go above a peep of 10 unless the doctor prescribes it, because then you're creating a lot of intrathoracic pressure and you can cause a lot more damage than good. Other than that is a lot of reassurance for the patient, and just see how they go really, and just deal with every problem as it comes up. So I hope you get a bit out of that, and look forward to seeing you on the next QNow video.